Hey guys, it's bringing you another video. Now, welcome back to one of these quick gameplay thoughts. Actually hasn't happened in a while, mainly because Riot didn't do them for a while, but I'm really glad when they do. These are actually some of my personal favorite videos to make, because it's more about the philosophy of the game and the actual design of the game, and I really love that type of thing. So today, they are covering defining Midscope updates and their goals. So the reason why they're doing this is, and also I just noticed that it's not exactly thingy. Oh, look, the league client's behind there. Boom. The reason why they're doing this is because we have just got the severe one, hence why the picture here is of severe. And, you know, there's other ones that are coming out. I think Aurelian, I don't know if Aurelian's is technically a mid-scope update or he's a bigger version, but I think Talia was before severe. So, yeah, we'll just see what Riot's kind of vibes are of them, because some of them definitely are good. Like the severe one seems pretty damn good. Pretty much doesn't change any type of gameplay with the champion or actual mechanics, but change how the champion is. Instead of being a Dark Harvest lethality AD carry, she's now a standard crit attack speed AD carry, but it's so much better. So let's get into it. So, if you've been following League news recently, you may have seen us use the term Midscope update a few times. We wanted to take some time to explain what you can expect when we announce that a champion is getting a Midscope update. So it's just maybe a bit of like a clarification, which is also a pretty good thing. So, what is a Midscope update? Simply put, Midscope updates are substantial updates to champions that could include updating some of their abilities, as well as some of their animations, visual effects, or even sound effects that need to be adjusted. Unlike a VGU, Midscopes don't adjust a champion's model, voiceovers, or lore. These updates take a lot more time and planning than regular patch balance changes to get it right, which is why you don't see them all the time. See, I do think, like, maybe Swain, Olaf, they might have counted to these. The upcoming Aurelian Soul one, I think, is counting to this. So that's just kind of the vibe. So how do they select the champion, I guess? But we typically look to give these updates to champions that have lost a bit of their shine over the years or have become problematic for the game. For example, Olaf is a champion that has been quite difficult to balance in pro play. So that saying right there, is Renekton going to get a Midscope update? But anyway, oftentimes being overpowered in pro play and underpowered in regular play. Literally, Renekton is the best example of that. But anyway, his clear speed and ability to run down AD carries made him pro-orientated, and his player base was shrinking. So we knew we had an opportunity to reimagine Olaf with a Midscope update that addresses these and other issues. So that's a good way of doing it, is they see something being popular in pro play, but it's not quite working in solo queue because it's got some problems about it. Okay, we could kind of update that, but the core kit itself is kind of okay, but they just kind of tweak a few things, change how some things scale. Like Olaf Ultimate, he now has a W on a shield. His ultimate is indefinite, but you've got to make sure you're still attacking things. It's little things like that. So the update goals. So our goals with Midscope updates are to polish up how these champions feel, better define their strategic place in the game, and most importantly, cater to players that love them. So that is quite a big one, by the way, because I don't think as much nowadays, because I think Riot got scared off. As we all know, the big example of a rework was Aatrox. So Aatrox, I don't know why Aatrox is kind of known as the biggest example of that, because there are other champions out there that received huge balance or rework changes, like Sion and Gangplank. They have some of what they had in the past, but they basically were fundamentally brand new champions. Not much translated. Like Gangplank, the only big thing that translated was his Q, Parlay, and I don't even think his ultimate is the same. I don't even remember. It's bad because I actually played old Gangplank, but Sion, pretty much a completely different champion. But like those player bases, I guess, are just more accepting. The Aatrox player base was very famous of absolutely hating the new Aatrox, and fundamentally it is because he was a new champion. They took an auto attacker, kind of like a Tryndamere, into becoming more like a Riven. And again, if you just play an auto attacking champion, you're going to struggle a bit more to play a combo champion. And a lot of people felt, oh wait, Riot just literally took my champion out of the game. So a lot of people who played Aatrox reacted very negatively, very famously negatively. And I even know some things in the background that it was bad for Riot. You know, I'm not going to get into it, but it wasn't good. You know, let's just say some players who played Aatrox took it a bit too far with their hate for the rework. So Riot, I think, from that got a bit scared to do bigger reworks, or basically, if there's a champion, they fundamentally want it to be more or less the same champion. If you look at Fiddlesticks, when they did his rework, it practically is the same champion, but with just a fresh coat of paint. The champion has the exact same weaknesses. Same with Pantheon, really. It's more or less the same champion, updated, but has the same weaknesses. That's kind of what Riot's doing, and that's what they're wanting to do with these updates is, hey, you play, random example, you play Aurelion Sol right now. He's a very niche champion. He doesn't really fit the aesthetic that we want, but we do know the player base that plays him is very into Aurelion. Well, if he fundamentally changed the champion, well, those players are screwed. They're going to be angry. So we need to make sure those players, at least the dedicated players, are okay with it. It's still Aurelion Sol, and that's what they're saying there. So that's good. This could mean players who are already playing these champions, so Ahri, for example, players who used to play them but no longer do, Swain mid, or people who want to play them but can't due to things like pro play balance issues, Olaf. So the examples they're giving there is people that, you know, the Ahri change that they did, this is for people mainly who still play Ahri, but we know she's weak, so we're going to give her a bit more strength, and that worked. That was a good update. Or, hey, Swain used to be a mid laner, but he's lost a lot of his power in mid. He's now a support. Well, actually, let's change him so people that used to play Swain mid, hey, guys, you can play Swain mid again. Or, I want to play Olaf, but dude, because of pro play, they've had to nerf him to the ground and he sucks for solo queue. Oh, guys, you can play him now because we've balanced him correctly with the Midscope update. All of those things are positive. But again, one thing to me, we've already mentioned him a couple times, everything here is screaming Renekton to me. I don't know about you guys. Like, question for this video can be, what champion do you see in what Riot is saying? What would fit a Midscope update? Because Renekton is screaming it. All three of those categories fit with Renekton. People who still play Renekton love the champion, but he sucks for solo queue. Players who used to play Renekton can't, you know, they feel they don't really want to anymore because of what's happened. But also people that, actively, I like Renekton. People are surprised when I scroll through my mastery on the Huzzy account. They're like, wait, Huzz, your Renekton's actually got a fair amount of mastery points. Yeah, it does. I like Renekton. I've played a lot of the champion. I just don't want to play him because of how he is right now. I would play him if I returned to top lane. I'd love to play Renekton. He's very satisfying to play, but I would not because of what's happened to the champion with balance. But if they did a Midscope update to give him a bit more presence in mid to late game, not just make him that lane bully that falls off, then who knows? Then maybe he'd be pretty good. But can't at the moment. So Renekton to me is screaming for one of these. It's also worth noting that when we approach these updates, we always try to strengthen the champion theme and fantasy that players love, not reinvent them. However, we can't do this without feedback from all of you to make sure we're hitting the right mark. An example of this when we didn't hit the mark was the Talia update, which was recently. Originally, we deleted her threaded volley and replaced it with a brand new spell. While this new spell got great feedback from testers, Talia players mentioned that it didn't feel like Talia. After hearing this, we quickly pivoted and found ways to improve on her current threaded volley to make it more fun and usable to players in a way that felt authentic to the original champion design. So please let us know on your Midscope updates when they hit PBE. So just to mention, they're kind of hinting at it there. Riot do testing before it even gets on the PBE. Obviously, I've been in testing in very small areas in the past, you know, create like for champions, and, you know, I know it's not in this, but like I always play the new TFT set early and stuff like that. But specifically what I will say, and if ever like you're wanting, if you absolutely love a champion and you main a champion or you one trick a champion, if you're a very high rating player of that champion, like we're talking master minimum here, there is a good chance Riot would invite you or they'd email you to see what you think if they're doing an update for that champion. They've done it. I know they have, you know, 100%. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, when they were doing things with Annie in her shield, her E, I believe they actually did ask Annie bot about it. Because why wouldn't you? The guys played the most Annie, practically a high rating ever. So that's the thing. If you are a very high rating player of one of these champions, they want to know what you particularly think. And I know some people out there might be like, oh, but I main a champion, I'm in gold, but I still have opinions. Again, they will go to the higher rating people because those are the people that can take the champion to the absolute extreme. That's the point. So yeah. But ultimately, our hope is that when you hear that your champion is getting a Midscope update, you'll be excited as we are. So that's kind of the thing, because in the past, I know players, and you know, even in my stream, I've seen it, when their champion got announced for a rework, because obviously Midscope updates are new, players were scared more than excited, because it was the, oh god, that's the champion I play ranked with. And I also just noticed that we are cutting off this a little bit, my bad. You know, that's the champion I play ranked with. It's getting a rework. Will it be the same? Will I suddenly not know my champion anymore? Will I be able to play my champion anymore? Riot is trying to make it, and again, they're listening to feedback. We changed one of the abilities completely. The Talia players said, that's not Talia. Okay, we'll change it and make it still Talia. That's what Riot are trying to make it. So if that is you right now, you are a main or a one trick especially, and you're ever scared that your champion is going to get a Midscope update or a rework, obviously, I will say they obviously have the extreme version, which I think is the ultimate rework, that they still do a couple of those. That's like the Udyr one, for example, that should be coming out soonish. They still are doing those, but for Midscope updates specifically, you shouldn't be scared that it's happening. It should be a good thing, not a bad thing in any way. It should still be your champion. So looking forward, though we've made significant updates to past champions like Xin Zhao, Tam Kench, and Wukong, we made the Midscope update process more formal for like champions like Ahri, Swain, and Olaf, and I guess now even technically Severe. I don't know if they'd actually count that. I presume they would. Historically, we made Midscope level changes as the needs arose, but by defining what a Midscope update is and setting goals for what good looks like, we can start doing these updates more proactively, meaning more champs get upgrades, and we still have a lot of champs we'd like to get to. As we're more comfortable doing these type of updates, we'd like to eventually reach a point where we can ship them to you more frequently, because there are a lot of champions we want to help find renewed life in League. As always, thanks for reading, which I will say is actually, this is like music to my ears, or whatever the phrase is, because I'm not the only one. I think vast majority of active players in League very much see a clear difference between new champions and older champions. It is completely a night and day difference. New champions do way more. They are more powerful. And that doesn't mean like you can't climb with older champions, but it is easier to climb with newer champions. Like 100%. There's no way it's not. So actually giving a renewed life into older champions, they're never going to be, what I would say is, you know, Olaf, who's a very old champion, he's never going to be as flashy or showy, or never have as much playmaking potential as like Yone, for example. That's just not going to happen. But you can give the Olaf more power to try to get to that Yone level. Like, that's kind of the vibe. And I like that. You know, League has got now over 160 champions, I think it is. A lot of people always say to me, Huz, when do you think they should stop making them? They should have stopped making them ages ago, but they're never going to, because they can't. League is a free-to-play game, and ultimately new champions equals a lot of money for Riot. They cannot stop making new champions. You know, in the next couple years, we will have 200 champions in League, which is ridiculous, but we will. And that, by the way, the more champions are, the harder it is for the game to get balanced and all of that, because there's more outliers, there's more potential for bugs, there's everything, but that's just the way of the game. But with these updates, a lot of older champions do need a bit of love. They do need a bit of attention, and if Riot get into the real big kind of format of making these a bit more like clockwork, of they know what they're doing, they know what notes to hit to kind of bring up the level of old champions, I am personally all for it. So yeah, in the comments, let me know what you guys think about these. I so far think they've been overall a success. You know, Swain is a lot better, Ahri's a lot better, Olaf is definitely a lot better, Severe's pretty good recently, so they're definitely doing a good job with them. And I think they'll only even get better with them. I do feel, you know, again, it is, and I don't think it's an easy job. It is hard to balance League of Legends, you know. I do think Riot definitely missed the mark quite often, and maybe Riot need to look into how they're actually balancing stuff when it first launches, because pretty much every champion that launches or rework that launches, they have to nerf it pretty quick. So clearly they're evaluating, well, they're under evaluating, I guess, because everything, you know, they're launching it and it's like, oh, you'll be fine, and then immediately, oh god, we have to nerf this. So maybe they need to look up like why that's happening, Because even Severe, you know, this is like a mini Midscope update that they're just changing a few things, making her crit scaling. She's way too strong, or was. She got nerfed already. Same with the Master E update too. Way too strong. So I think they do need to look at why that's happening. And if they get that under control, this will be great. So yeah, let me know what champions you think would actually suit a Midscope update. I've pitched my, you know, champion or Renekton. I think he'd be perfect for one. I don't think you'd need to do much to the champion to make him cool. I think he's already cool. I think they just have to kind of change his scaling. You know, I know Renekton's identity for a long time has been that early game lane bully, but that makes him good in pro play too much. I think taking away some early game prowess, putting it more into mid game, you don't have to make him a late game champion, just make him a mid game champion, and then he always can be that distraction in team fights later. But to make him a mid game champion, you need to take some away of his early strength. Do a couple things there, maybe take away some of his early sustain, put it more into mid game as well. And I think he could be cool because you just can't really get away with Renekton anymore because he'd be nerfed so hard. He did get a recent buff, by the way, because again, he sucks in solo queue and pro play has kind of gone away from him. But the moment he's okay, pro play will just pick him back up. The same thing will happen. But anyway, that is going to be it. If you guys did enjoy, I always enjoy doing these videos. Do throw a like on the video, throw a comment, throw a subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace, restore our glory.